For hours at a time, I stand on the streets. There, I am not the respected, wise, international maroon, but the unnoticed slave of a slave, harshly scorned by a dying people. Yet, leading the African blood siblings, I practice more than I preach. I read. On the streets, I read the faces and behaviors and being of the passerby, and I determine there how I will inspire their creativity and community. This reading is crucial to our uplift. I write. I write for the African Blood Siblings newsletter on African love, knowledge, and wisdom. But on the streets, I write down new approaches so that success or failure, I again approach better. I do not reinvent the wheel. I perfect my wheel. Now, after months of field research, I am 90% successful when before I wasn't 10. I now train others. I rally. All over the world, our people are creating African blood siblings community centers. But I am on the streets, explaining to people firsthand the necessity of creating a new consciousness for creativity. I see some again, some absolutely jubilant. And my work rewards. For as long as I can remember, I have advocated for the liberators of African people, financing and promoting which liberators I could. On the streets, I create those liberators. With a clipboard in hand, I inspire young and old to share their email addresses. They are then readers of liberation. It's no light feat to read my organization's newsletter. It presents our love, knowledge, and wisdom in their purest forms. But it's a larger feat to write the newsletter and rally on the streets for it. Yet I do this, acknowledging that few among us are free, but we must all be liberated. For nearly all of us are dependent for food, clothing, shelter, and consciousness, and independence must be created. I work hard to assure a prosperity as a future, despite the poverty of our present. For consciousness amounts to justice. As an African people, our very worst impediment, off or on the streets, is assuming the justice of a different people. This is as if a wildebeest assumed the justice of a crocodile, or vice versa. All justice liberates. European justice liberates Europeans. Asian justice, Asians. African justice, Africans. Yet on others these justices enslave. It is seen on the streets how we enslave ourselves. Oftentimes I am refused attention, scorned, but these same brothers and sisters kowtow without the race. Sometimes I am circumvented, lest I mention free, for we are wise with our money when it comes to our own. Yet our local institutions attest how our resources empower others at our own expense. A most notable error of ours is misunderstanding that, not unlike the mirror, we reflect all that we sense. We believe that as long as we know something is negative, we won't be influenced. Others rely on this lack of wisdom. For most of us know we are negatively serviced, but we continue to patronize this unconvinced that we will be affected though our habits, fashions, opinions, and lifespans say otherwise. It's not subtlety, ignorance, that is shaping us, but error, as different as wisdom from knowledge. I observe and teach this on the streets and the African Blood Siblings newsletter. But African consciousness needs a physical institution to truly affect the broad masses of our people. Therefore, we create African Blood Siblings community centers. These centers offer a range of consciousness development spanning the four sciences of liberation: philosophy, sociology, ecology, and psychology. The consciousness is known as restorative consciousness, an acknowledgement of the unspoken, little known, but fundamental ideology of all African people: restorism, the ideology that inspired Maroons and the reclaiming of ancient Kemet, Egypt. On the streets, I gather a team of 12 in my age grade, 20 to 28. I insist you create the same for your own. It's the marriage between local membership and international leadership which will reconnect created, prosperous, independent African communities at home and abroad, allowing for the first time in a very long time a globally liberated African people with plentiful fresh fruits and vegetables, garments patterned for the cosmos, and homes affording lively, spiritual, transnationally interconnected, proud, beautiful communities. It is for you to read, to write, to rally the African blood siblings on the streets, and do not forget to subscribe to the African Blood Siblings newsletter. See you at a center or on the streets.